the book itself is not the sequence of revelation. It's actually almost
battery,
upside
1
down
or 2 minutes.
to a certain extent. But it's extremely organized. Every unit, every surah, every cluster of surahs have concepts or have similar messages that they talk about and ideas that they bring forward. Principles that they try to instill in the mind and heart of those who are reading. And it is not spontaneous, they're not spontaneous verses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala isn't just talking about anything. And then you have every surah has a theme and the ayats are every surah is
no blinking mean they are paid. If they're blinking quick, it's not. But
this from a different angle and focus on the part of the story that is most important to the theme of the surah. And that makes things extremely
what's it?
When you read it like you see it like that, you don't feel that there is no actual repetition. And the same thing goes for same thing goes for Qissat Musa alayhi salam specifically. If you want to look at anything that's there's nothing more specific or repeated than Qissat Musa alayhi salam. 73 times in the Quran he was referred to. 73 is each mawda', each chapter of the Quran that he's referred to in, there's multiple ayat that bring him up. So it's not one ayah, it's not 73 ayah, it's 73 clusters of ayat in the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ himself, his name was in the Quran 4 times only. Right? He is by far the highest. Sometimes if you put all the Ulul Azm al-Rusul together, they don't add up to the number of times of Musa alayhi salam. And sometimes you read the same story in different surahs, like you look at A'raf and Yunus and then Shu'ara, and you feel like, is this the same surah being in Taha? Are they being repeated in these 4? No, they're not. Each surah is focusing on the part of the story that is specific to it. And that's why you'll find a certain part of his story referred to in Surah Al-A'raf, not referred to in Surah Taha, but then another part of that story referred to in Surah Taha and nowhere else. And the reason is because, okay, this surah is talking about an idea, and this part of the story is going to make it clear. And Musa alayhi salam being the most similar prophet to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, meaning there's a lot of parallels between the two stories. So alayhi salatu wasalam, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was teaching through the Quran, through the stories of the Quran, it's only natural for him to repeat for him the story of the Prophet who he is most similar to. That makes most sense. Why would he repeat to him a story of a Prophet who has many differences between them? It's not the same circumstances, it's not the same situation. And through that you can understand more of the Quran, and it'll make more sense to you. And my goal, I guess, when I'm reciting a surah or trying to do tafsir or sharh or interpretation of a surah is to make sure that the theme is clear. So even if I miss a crucial part of the story, and you'll say I'm explaining something, and you're like, well, how he missed this? How did he miss it? Well, you can pick it up, inshallah, because you understood the theme, and then actually your depth will, your ability to reflect and to contemplate upon the surah has guidance. There's a compass. One of the biggest, and I know this is maybe a bit long of an introduction, but it's important that we take a moment and kind of think about it. A lot of people, and I hear this all the time, will quote the Quran, quote an ayah, and when they quote it for me, trying to give evidence that this is okay or it's not okay, some idea, and then I want to say something that it's going to take too long. You're quoting an ayah that's in the surah that's talking about something totally different from what you're quoting it for. And misquotations and misinterpretations is the number one problem in the Muslim Ummah specifically, not regarding the way they deal with the Quran, is reading an ayah thinking it means something, but it's really not talking about that. And the reason you thought it meant it is because you didn't know, or the person who was interpreting didn't know what the surah was talking about to begin with. And if they did, they would feel, oh, that doesn't work at all. This surah was not there to talk about that issue whatsoever. It was talking about a completely different concept, and you just took it out of context and you copied it and pasted it somewhere, and now it seems as if it means something, but it really doesn't, because you actually have to go through the ayah, or go through the cluster of ayat at least, if not the whole surah. All right, Surat AlKahf, it talks about, and I know I use it with civilization a lot, but I think it's really important. The word hadara is extremely important. It dropped from our dictionary as Muslims, and it had never done that, at least in the first 1200 years of Islam. The word hadara, the word civilization, was important. It meant something. It was what the Prophet ﷺ was trying to build. It was the end goal, right? The end result of what he was trying to create, alayhi salatu wasalam, through the understandings and practices of Islam, was a hadara. Hadara does not mean buildings. right? It does not mean wealth. It's a word that has a broad spectrum of understandings, and it's a very big word that has different layers of what it's actually talking about. Civilization, a part of it, the number one part of it, is the human being, the quality of the person, the purpose of that person, the way he understands the world, the way he looks at himself, the way he looks at everything around him, why he lives here, where he is going. That's the number one thing, is the person, the quality of the individual within that society, and then the actual function of the society itself. That society, where does it have direction? Does it know where it's going? Does it know what it wants and what it's trying to achieve? What are the means to achieving this? Is knowledge a part of this? Is wealth a part of this? Is power and status a part of this? All of it together. When you put them all together, when you put all these elements together, then you end up with a sustainable civilization or community or society, call it what you may. But Surat AlKahf talks about the 4 basic elements. Are there more? There are many more. But these are the 4 basics. If you have these 4 things, then you can build. And you can build something that can last, that can be fruitful, that can be prosperous. And if you don't have them, then you're never going to be, you'll never qualify. Meaning, this group of people with this common belief or this commonality amongst them will never qualify to be called a community or society or civilization. Like, you don't qualify for it. So when we call ourselves a Muslim community, I always wonder, do we qualify to be actually called a community? Just having numbers, just saying, okay, well, you're Muslim, I'm Muslim, that doesn't make us a community. That makes us individuals who have commonalities, have common issues, like we have common beliefs. But a community, or is what equals a society, or is with a small example or paradigm of a civilization, the mini civilization is a community. It starts there. If we are going to qualify as that, then there are 4 things we need to have within our community. Number 1, which is the beginning first story of the surah, and what the story that the surah is called by is Qissat AlKahf, the story of the people of the cave, the individuals of Al-Kahf. Now, the first element, of course, that the story brings forward, and the first element of society or civilization is the idea, is the mentality, is the ideology. What do you stand for? Before we talk about anything else you're going to bring in, what is it that do you stand for anything? Do you know who you are and why you're here and what it is that you're going to do? Is it clear to you? Do you have some common language? Do you have a common ground? Do you have a common goal? Do you know what you're trying to achieve? Do you know why it is that you're going to go out there and achieve and obtain wealth and skills and money and status and power and networking? Do you know why you're doing this? If not, then not only will you not do it, if you do end up achieving all those things, it's not going to help in any way. It's not going to do anything. Actually, it may cause more shar than it will cause khair. Why? Because you never had direction for it. It's like the channel, right? The idea here is when the idea is clear, when all like-minded people come together and they have some common goal and they have common values and they have common reasons and intentions, it's like you just drilled a tunnel in the midst of mountains, just right in the middle of it. And now all the energy and all the light can be channeled and focused into it, and you can actually get something done. Without that, then what actually happens is just the energy just gets scattered into the universe, just completely uselessly. And then you have someone with so much potential. You have youth that are intelligent, that have a lot of passion, that have a lot of energy in them, that are creative and innovative, amazing young men and women. But because you did not give them a common goal, because you didn't offer them any direction, because the ideology never existed, because Ahl al-Kahf of our time didn't wake up yet, we're still sleeping. The analogy here, Ahl al-Kahf woke and then slept, and for some reason we haven't woken up yet to begin with. The sleep continues, have not woken up to actually give direction, the energy, and it's all lost. And it's just perpetual. Every year it's the same problems. Every day it's the same issues. And we've been around. Muslims have been suffering from the same set of problems for maybe the last 100 years. And the question that always we ask is what is the reason that we can't seem to fix them? Well, the reason is that first element. Ashab al-Kahfi wal-Raqim. Al-Kahf is the symbol of the retreat. إِذْ أَوَى الْفِتْيَةُ الْإِيوَى, taking a step back and observing everything that it surrounds you and seeing what the reality of the time is and what it is that we want to achieve. Al-Raqim symbolizes the actual agreement, what it is that we agree to do. What is the chart of values What is the chart of values and purposes and goals that we want to move towards? It gives us direction, it gives us meaning, it gives us purpose. Without those two things, then nothing's going to happen. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the story of AlKahf, because since we ended it, He gave us the example of three teenagers who took a stand, who had the level of intelligence and commitment to actually come up with a plan for their community, work towards it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's message in it is, look, I changed the world for them. I changed the whole kingdom, the entirety of the kingdom that they lived in, just based on their small efforts. And they didn't think it was possible. No one thought it was possible. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows it's possible. And the point of telling us the story is that just like I did it for them, I will happily do it again for you. If you just do your purpose and do your job. If you just actually take this as a priority and put in your effort and put in your time, and it will happen as well. And that's the whole point of understanding Surat AlKahf, is actually coming to that realization that changing the world is out of our ability, is outside or beyond our capacity. But we can be the reason behind it. We can be the reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changes the world through us. He can do it subhanahu wa ta'ala through us. I can't do it, but He can do it. Just through whom is He going to do it? If you're waiting for anything to happen on its own, it's not. It's going to happen through people. Well, let it be you. Let the change come through you. That's all it is. Wallahi, even when we sit here and we teach the Quran, the only thing that we're told to think, to understand, or to contemplate upon as people, as someone who talks about the Quran, is, Ya Rabbi, you want to spread the message of Quran, do it through me. Just channel it through me. Please don't channel it through anyone else. Don't put me aside and channel it through someone else. But Ya Rabbi, just use me for it. I don't do any good. It's Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any good that comes out of this is His, and anything wrong is my mistake and my shortcomings. But all you want is, Ya Rabbi, don't move me aside and then use someone else. Just through me. Channel your khair through me. And the same thing applies to AlKahf, but on a bigger scale. You want to see a change of the world around you. You want to see a civilization stand up after. Just do your job. And I will change the sun as it moves for you. I will break the laws of physics for you, right? And just don't worry about your effect. Just do your job, and He'll take care of the effect subhanahu wa ta'ala. And always believe that everything is possible. He gave us subhanahu wa ta'ala, after that commentary of a number of ayat, talking about a number of mentalities that if you do have, or a number of characteristics that if you obtain, then you will be more capable of actually taking those stands. And I talked about them in detail last time. I'm not going to repeat them again, but please go through them and think about them. If you have questions, ask again, because it's really important to take time to think about them. I guess I want to refer to one of them, or the one that I think is the most important of all, is at the end of the commentary, when it talks about وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ. You need companionship. There wasn't one person who did this. The story is not the person of Sahib al-Kahf. It's Ashab al-Kahf. It's a group. 3. The smallest number of a group is 3. But still, it was a group. You need people around you to support you, and you need to be around people to support them. If you want change to happen, you have to look for like-minded people. I know that means you may have to change your friends. It means that maybe you have to change the crowd that you're around. Maybe that you need to distance yourself from certain people and then bring yourself closer to other people so you can get that done. But that shows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala true commitment on your behalf, that you're willing to change your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone, all the people that you've known all your life, people that you're totally comfortable around and you don't need to do anything for, and change that for His sake subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a big deal. And this doesn't mean that you throw people aside, but you take distance from one group and you come closer to the other, and you stand by them, and then you come together with conclusions how you can actually serve the community that you live in. And I think that's one of the most important, because the way it describes it, وَلَا تَعْدُ عَيْنَاكَ عَنْهُمْ. Don't let your eyes look elsewhere. Don't even think of it. You found them, just focus. And you're lucky. You're lucky you found someone you can do that with. That's a big blessing. So don't look elsewhere. Hoping for the blessings of or the adornments of this world, or the luxuries of this worldly life. Don't waste your time doing that. If you found someone who wants to serve Allah and His community just as much as you do, then stick like glue and put up. Sabr means difficulty. It's going to be hard. Like He's telling you beforehand, subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's going to be hard. ما الوثبت مع الذين والتزم الذين. No, واصبر نفسك. Your nafs is not going to be too happy. Sometimes it'll be sloppy. Sometimes it'll be tiring. Sometimes it's not going to be easy all the time. And the people that you're around you may not find to be the coolest group or the funnest group, but they're the group that you agree with on the most fundamental questions of the world. Then you stick to that. So we read that last time, and we went through the narrative of what the Muslim is supposed to do when he spreads the message. وَقُلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. You say the truth that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and people make their choices. You just make sure you say it right. You just make sure that what you're saying is the truth, and the way that you're presenting it is proper, and then people make their choices. Don't hold grudges and don't feel bad, because this person who refused, the punishment is horrific. Like someone who's refusing to believe in Allah, don't fill your heart with hatred. You understand what's going to happen Yawm al-Qiyamah. When you do, you're like, miskeen. What you feel is mercy. Like, Allah, I wish we could find some way to make you see the light, so that you wouldn't be الذين الظالمين نارا أحاط بهم سرادقها وإن يستغيثوا يغاثوا بماء كالمهل. Very scary ayat talking about severe punishment. And then whatever difficulty you go through, just read the second ayah. Right? إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات إنا لا نضيع أجر من أحسن عملا أولئك لهم. It talks about the blessings and the bliss that you find in Jannah. You'll forget every hard moment and every difficult circumstance, and every time you felt lonely. It'll all go away when you're in Jannah. And I'll quote before we begin inshallah reciting the ayat. I'll quote hadith for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hadith sahih. قال يؤتى يوم القيامة بأنعم أهل الدنيا. It's brought in Yawm al-Qiyamah the most luxurious, or the person who lived in the most leisure on earth. Meaning the person who just had the best life story, just total ease, was born into ease, lived all his life through ease. Not one day of sadness entered his heart, just total happiness. A lot of money. Think about it. I want you to take a moment and imagine it. Imagine all of it. All the stuff that you hoped for. Imagine all of it, huh? All the money, the wealth, the status, the fame, the health, the good looks. Imagine all of it, just the glamour, and where you're living, what you own, just awesome stuff, right? يُؤْتَى بِأَنْعَمِ أَهْلِ الدُّنْيَا فَيُغْمَسُ فِي النَّارِ غَمْسَةً. And then he is dipped in Jahannam for a second, just dip and then out. فَيُقَالُ لَهُ هَلْ رَأَيْتَ نَعِيمًا قَطَّ. And he is said to him, have you ever seen a happy day or happiness before? فَيَقُولُ لَا وَاللَّهِ مَا رَأَيْتُ نَعِيمًا قَطَّ. No, I've never been happy a moment of my whole existence. ثم يؤتى بأبأس أهل الدنيا. And then the most miserable human being of dunya is brought. Again, imagine with me for a moment. Who's the most miserable human being? It's not you, by the way. So I know we all enjoy the drama, but it's not you and it's not me. We're not the most miserable people. We don't have the most difficult story in the world. No. There's way worse than whatever we are going through. Believe me, we're very blessed, beyond our ability sometimes to even acknowledge. But imagine the worst story. Imagine someone born with deformities and illnesses, no parents, and poverty and oppression and persecution, and just imagine like a very, very unhappy life that lived a long time. Like it didn't end early, so the suffering was gone. No, lived through agony till the day he died. Not one day of happiness. It's probably she even. It's probably in this story. It's definitely going to be a she. It's not going to be a he. some lady somewhere, with the worst story in the world. فَيُغْمَسُ فِي الْجَنَّةِ غَمْسَةً. And then they're dipped in Jannah just for a second. فَيُقَالُ لَهُ هَلْ رَأَيْتَ شَقَاءً قَطْ أو بؤسًا قَطْ. Have you ever seen, a moment of agony or suffering or misery? فَيَقُولُ مَا رَأَيْتُ شَقَاءً قَطْ. I've never been miserable a moment of my whole existence. It's all gone. It's all gone. You live such bliss in Jannah and such agony in Jahannam that the whole 60, 70, 100 years that you live on earth become almost meaningless as far as the memories and the good times and the bad times. It's all gone. All you're left with is what's to come. All that matters is the future. And with that, you should be able to perform da'wah with an open heart. With an open heart, accepting the difficulties and forgiving those who don't make it. And we talked about that before. قُلِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا يَغْفِرُوا الَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ أَيَّامَ اللَّهِ. Because what they're heading for, it's not good. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed you and you're not heading for that. So that should be enough for you. That should be enough for us, wallahi, just that concept itself. All right, so that's just kind of putting together the ideas of Surat AlKahf, of the story of Ahl al-Kahf. It is a very, very deep story. I know that I must have missed many things as I explained it, and even as I summarize it. I don't claim that I can go into all depths of the story itself. I think the reason, saying that is, it goes without saying, because the Prophet ﷺ commanded to read it every week till the day you die. Every week read it once. Why? Because every week you will come up with something new and you'll benefit something more. As long as you understand what the surah is preparing you for. It's like the surah every week. Okay, remind yourself of what you're building. Remind yourself of the building blocks of what it is that you're trying to create. the civilization, the society, the community. And these are the building blocks, and understand how you're supposed to deal with them and how you're supposed to use them. And that in itself is very valuable for the Muslim individual to actually take time and think about it. Okay, we'll start inshallah from ayah number 32, where we started the second story of the surah. And it's going to focus on wealth, and we'll look at it from a number of different angles. So we start inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. واضرب لهم مثل الرجلين جعلنا لأحدهما جنتين من أعناب
واضرب لهم مثل الرجلين جعلنا لأحدهما جنتين من أعناب
وحففناهما بنخل وجعلنا بينهما زرعا كلتا الجنتين آتت أكلها ولم تظلم منه شيئا وفجرنا خلالهما نهرا وكان له ثمر. So we're going to stop there for a second, because this is like the first couple of ideas. So, and give them وَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ, and give them the example of رَجُلَيْنِ, of two men. Now, before we actually talk about the story, there is a difference of opinions between scholars regarding did this story actually happen, or is it a hypothetical story that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just giving you to think about, to reflect upon. And the Mufassirun qasamu, they divided amongst themselves whether this is actually happened or it didn't. Some Mufassirin say it did, because there are certain parallels that you can draw to biblical stories and Old Testament stories that are similar. And some of them said no, since he didn't call the name and didn't give any specificities at all, he didn't specify at all in the whole surah, in this whole story, there's almost nothing to tell us about anything regarding this story. Like, we have no names, we have no places, we have no timings, we have almost nothing. And with all of those things missing, then maybe this story is just hypothetical. Now, are there hypothetical examples in the Quran? Yes, there are. In Surah Al-Nahl, ضرب الله مثل رجلين أحدهما أبكم ولا يقدر على شيء وكل على مولاه أينما يوجهه هل يستوي هو ومن يأمر بالعدل. And then other examples where it's just an example. He just wants you to think about the concept. It's not really something that happened, or it could be something that happened. And almost in the world, I'm pretty sure at some point in the world something like this happened. Like, it must have. But I'm just saying that sometimes it could be hypothetical. Just a heads up. وَاضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلَ الرَّجُلَيْنِ, and give them. وَاضْرِبْ لَهُمْ is how the Quran always says, give an example. And the word daraba, as I've talked about before, is a very, very multi-dimensional word. It's multi-layered. There's almost 28 different usages for the word, and they differ very, very much in many, many ways. And it's a very hard word to kind of pin down the basic or original meaning. I know that, of course, as people from Arabic, Islamic backgrounds, darab always means it has the same meaning for all of us. We've witnessed it many times before. but the word daraba actually has way more meanings than that. And in the Quran, whenever he wants to talk about an example, method, it always starts with وَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ or ضَرَبَ لَهُمْ or something like that. So, and give them an example, and that's the usage of it, or the meaning of it. رَجُلَيْن, two men. جَعَلْنَا لِأَحَدِهِمَا, we put it so, or made it so, that for one of them, جَنَّتَيْن, two gardens. This is a really important point here we're going to talk about at the beginning. Min a'nab, from vines, or vineyards or grapes. Jannatayn min a'nab. وَحَفَفْنَاهُمَا بِنَخْلٍ, and surrounding the vineyards inside is just palm trees all around. So it's like it's naturally hidden, naturally protected. So you didn't have to even build anything on the side. Sometimes you have to put walls up and put so people don't. No, the palm trees is impossible to go. It's very hard to get up a palm tree, and if you do, you will be caught, because you're way up there and it'll take you quite some time. So it's protected with palm trees all around. It's surrounded by palm trees, meaning the scent inside will be beautiful. And palm trees work as repellent for certain types of bugs bugs and insects. So meaning with the vine inside and the grapes inside are going to grow even better, right? It doesn't use much water. Like dates don't need that much water, right? Palm trees. And we made between these two gardens, so one orchard here, another one here, and between these two orchards is a river of water that runs. So now he not only does he have two orchards that are well protected with some of the best fruit in the world and the most lucrative fruits as far as how much money you make and beneficial. There's also a river that is running right in the middle. كِلْتَ الْجَنَّتَيْن, both of these gardens, each and every one of them would produce the proper amount of produce every single year. So the product of each of these gardens or orchards was to the satisfaction of this man, of the farmer. Now, I come from a long heritage of farmers, and let me tell you, for an orchard to give a satisfaction amount of fruit for a farmer is literally impossible. I've never seen a farmer happy with anything. Wallahi, if the tree had nothing but fruit on it, like nothing, no leaves, nothing else, but just fruit, he still wouldn't be happy with the amount that it gives. For it to atat ukulaha, meaning it gave its fruit, it gave its sufficient amount, that means that this was a very, very lucrative orchard. Atat ukulaha walam tadhlim minhu shay'a, and not 1 year, and it never, tadhlim means oppression. But here the oppression is withholding the fruit. So not 1 year did any of these two orchards with the river running between them withhold any of his product, ever, any of the fruit. Not one, nothing. Every year was the same amount, every year was more. وفجرنا, right? Sorry, وجعلنا بينهما زرعا. I'm sorry, I استبقت الأحداث. زرع is what we refer to in Arabic as there are trees, and then there are vegetables and fruits that come from the ground, like that grow, that aren't on stalks, right? They're like tomatoes, for example, and eggplant and zucchini. So وَجَعَلْنَا بَيْنَهُمَا زَرْعًا, that between these orchards, there was enough space. This was sorry, I jumped to the end of the ayah after it. And between the trees, the palm trees and the vines, there was enough space for you to make your small little garden of vegetables and fruits. And every year, it gave enough product to the satisfaction of the farmer. And وَفَجَّرْنَا خِلَالَهُمَا نَهْرًا, and running within these two orchards was a big river. So I want you to imagine now what it looks like, right? You're talking about two farms or two orchards that are well protected with palm trees on the outside. In it is a vineyard. There's enough space within these orchards for you to grow wheat and different vegetables every single year. And every year these two orchards would give the full amount of the product. It would never withhold anything. There was never a year where it didn't give as much as the farmer wanted. And running within these two orchards was a river, meaning all he had to do was just move the water this way, move it that way, sometimes nothing at all, because the river was already running within the orchards. Now again, talk to farmers in the Middle East where there's not enough water. Actually getting water to the land is one of the most difficult things you can do, and it's very, very hard. And if you find water that is even remotely close to your piece of land, then you are the happiest man on earth. If you have a river literally running within your orchard, then you are the king of your land, and there's nothing that you ever need. Now, وَكَانَ لَهُ ثَمَرٌ, and he saw the fruit of it every year. Thamar, right, is fruit. So he saw the fruit of this every year. He owned it. Now, the word thamar doesn't only mean the edible fruit, but the fruit of having that type of land. Having that type of wealth, there's fruit for it. You live a good life. You are secure financially. You can take care of your kids. You don't work as hard. You can wake up whenever you need to and sleep whenever you need to. You don't have to worry about anything. وَكَانَ لَهُ ثَمَرٌ. I mean, from this, he had all the fruits of owning that type of land. He was not always worrying about taking care of his orchard, because it was self-sufficient. The water ran through it, and it was very lucrative, and he got the fruits of it. The fruits of a life that is similar to our lifestyles. Maybe not as lucrative, maybe not as wealthy, but something close, where you're not worrying constantly about money, you're not worrying about the future of your children as much. There's a certain level of leisure and ease that comes with all of that. It comes with having more than what you need. Now here's the point that you need to pay attention to when you read the beginning of the surah. 2 men in 2 gardens. So why one guy has 2 and the other one doesn't have anything? Didn't it just make more sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave each man 1 garden? The numbers here matter. He could have said 2 men and 3 gardens and one guy has 3. No, he said 2 men, 2 gardens. The numbers here matter because it's a hypothetical story. You could have put any number at all. He wants us to think for a moment. This is how life works. There are 2 men and 2 gardens. Now what makes sense to you is, okay, give each one of those guys a garden and they can both live happily. But no, one of them is going to have 2 gardens and the other one is not going to have anything at all. And this strikes a crucial argument within faith and with understanding life. Why is it that happens? What's the point? When you think about it, Ya Rab, why are you giving people more than what they need and other people way less than they need? Why isn't there justice or fairness in the distribution of wealth and fruits of the world to different people, right? This is the point of the story. The story is giving you this example. Of course, it's going to explain it as we go along, but this is the idea that it wants you to think about. 2 men and 2 gardens. Why on earth does one have 2 and the other one is sitting around with nothing? Tayyib Shaykh, give him the other garden and then you guys can both have lucrative, happy lives, and you both have more than you need anyway. With that one orchard is more than enough, and you can live 3-4 families from it. For one person to have way more than the other. But that is the reality of how the world works, right? At the end of the day, that's how the world works. And there is no fair distribution of wealth in the world. But there's a purpose for that, because see, this world was not designed to function in a fair way anyway. You see, it would be a failure if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended to create our world and the way that it runs in a fair way and then it didn't work out. That would be a failure. But subhanahu wa ta'ala jalla jalaluhu, of course not. He knows exactly what he is doing. He created it such so that these things would happen. This is what he wants subhanahu wa ta'ala to happen. Why? Because this is not the time nor place where fairness and justice is going to be given its due. Not here. This is going to be another place where that's going to happen, where everyone is going to be treated fairly, where justice is going to be served, where there will not be one person with 5 gardens, 2 gardens, and another person with no gardens. No, unless they deserved it, unless they brought that upon themselves to begin with. Because another thing in this story is, what did these guys do to earn these gardens? What did the first guy who has 2 gardens do to earn it? And what did the guy who has no gardens do not to earn it? Actually, as the surah goes on, you're going to find it to be even more unfair as far as we're concerned from a worldly and humane point of view. You're going to say, well, why? Because the other guy's going to be totally religious, totally good guy, ethically, socially, manners, nice guy. The other guy just, the type of person who you don't want to spend any time around. Like the person that you don't enjoy, not a good person. Just not, all in all, just not good. The way his perspectives, his opinions, the way he treats people, just not good. So it makes it even more difficult. And if the first guy was good, who had the orchards, but he's not even a good person, and the other person has nothing. Why? Why is wealth distributed like that? And do we have a role in changing that? And do we have a purpose that's supposed to interfere with that, or not? When we study Islamic financial law, what is the core of that law? What's the most main part of understanding Islamic financials? Because Quran does not detail a financial international system or international financial system. It does not detail it. Neither did the Prophet ﷺ. It was impossible at the time. The world has not evolved to what it is today. But there are fundamental principles. One of them is كَيْ لَا يَكُونَ دُولَةً بَيْنَ الْأَغْنِيَاءِ مِنْكُمْ, so that money does not become exclusive within the hands of the upper 2% or maybe less, and then the rich becomes richer and the poor becomes poorer, right? The whole point of an Islamic financial law is that it's designed in a way that makes sure that the poor are moved up to middle class, and the rich stay rich, but they don't become rich to the point where they're no longer under the ceiling of the law, that they leave, that they're no longer, laws don't apply to them anymore. And when people have so much money to the point where nothing is beyond their reach to buy, everything is for sale as far as they're concerned, they can buy it because they just have enough of it, well, that doesn't work anymore. Yeah.
It's way more than that. There are people in our world today who have so much money that the politics of the world are just, they don't even care.
Yep.
They just don't care. They have so much money.
Exactly.
There's a couple people in Britain. There's a couple people in New York. They have so much money that...
I'll tell you something. There are people everywhere. We are not immune from this. When we talk about this, it's not like we don't have Muslims who actually have that capital of wealth. No, it exists everywhere. But the concept meaning being, I'm just giving you things to think about at the beginning of the story before we continue, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving us this hypothetical story, if we may, or a story that happened, but very specific. 2 men, 2 gardens. One has 1, 2, and the other one doesn't. But why wouldn't each one have 1? And are we supposed to accept that and just live with it? And is there a purpose? Was that intentional, or was it a mistake that was made? What is it? What purpose do we serve in understanding this, and how do we deal with it? This is what this story is. It's very important because it happens all the time. Maybe not in the same exact same context, but it's very similar. Where you studied, you studied a lot in your life, 12, 15 years. You worked from a very young age. You've had to carry responsibilities all your life. And you've always been honest, and you've always been trustworthy, and you've always been truthful. You've never, ever even thought of touching something that was not yours, right? Totally. And then at the end of it, you don't have what you hoped you would have. And then another person you grew up with, total failure at school, horsed around most of his youth. One of the people who just never, ever had no ethics at all. Nothing was haram for him, everything. And now at the end of it, he seems to have more money, he seems to have more status, he seems to be happier in life, from a leisure point of view. And then you ask the question, you almost want to ask it, but sometimes you have some, you don't want to say, Ya Rabb, why is this happening? And you read the story of Surat AlKahf. وَاضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلَ رَجُلَيْنِ جَعَلْنَا لِأَحَدِهِمَا جَنَّتَيْنِ من أعناب وحففناهما بنخل وجعلنا بينهما زرعا. Something beautiful. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually took the time in the surah to explain to you how beautiful these 2 gardens were. Not just just a farm and it's a ruin. No. He's talking about 2 really nice orchards. Like one of them would have been enough. That's the point of telling us the detail. That one would have been enough for this man. So he could have given the other one to the other person. But no. I gave him way more than he needed. And the other person had no Jannah. He had no orchard. He didn't know anything. It
doesn't say that the other person has nothing.
Well, not nothing in the sense of poverty, but in a comparative manner. He didn't own that property, so he lived a simple life, if I may, like a simple life where he did not own expensive property that allowed him to have a certain ease within his life financially and socially, to move forward. Because we're going to find out it's not just financial. In a second, we're going to find that there's another thing that this man had that his counterpart or the pair the other person did not have. But it's thought-provoking. We're supposed to take a moment to think about that. Have we felt like this before? Have we seen it in our lives? We've seen it a lot. But have you felt it? Because sometimes feeling it is more important. You've seen it a lot. But have you ever felt it? Have you ever felt that maybe you put in a lot and you didn't get back what you were hoping to get, and then others didn't, and then suddenly they have way more, and they walk around? And then we read the surah, and the story becomes way more practical, and it touches us more when we think about it like that. So we continue, inshallah, the recitation. فقال لصاحبه وهو يحاوره أنا أكثر منك مالا وأعز نفرا. ودخل جنته وهو ظالم لنفسه قال ما أظن أن تبيد هذه أبدا وما أظن الساعة قائمة ولئن رددت إلى ربي لأجدن خيرا منها منقلبا. So انتبه ولئن رددت from the ham one day when they were, yuhawiruhu means they were talking or they were discussing. And the word hiwar is important. Its existence in the Quran is that of meaning. Because we have jidal, and we have mira, and we have hiwar. And there are three different things. Mira exists in this surah as well. It is superficial discussion on something that is completely useless. It's of no importance whatsoever. There's no benefit from actually talking about this thing to begin with. Jidal is when there are 2 points that are going back and forth. I have one point, you have an opposite point, and we are debating back and forth. Hiwar is a discussion on a matter that we both think is important. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we have 2 opposite points. There's a topic that we are both discussing. That topic is of importance. Mira is discussion on something that is not important at all. And jidal is when there are 2 opposite points of view. Sometimes hiwar will turn into mira, and it will turn into jidal. And sometimes jidal can be taken and turned into hiwar. But mira is mira. Mira is a waste of everyone's time. You talk about a superficial topic and it's really not worth anything. Jidal and hiwar, however, do have importance. Like, وَلَا تُجَادِلُوا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. When you're debating with the people of the book, with the Christians or the Jews, then when you debate with them, use the best of language, use the best of ideas when you're talking to them, right? إِلَّا الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مِنْهُمْ, except those who oppressed you. But here is hiwar. So he and his friend are talking about something, talking about life, right? Probably talking about, how things turned out and how life works, and what do men talk about when they sit together? Not shabab, shabab talk about something different, but rijal, guys in their 40s, what do they talk about? Some guys in their 40s still talk about those things, but generally speaking, guys in their 40s will talk about how work is, how much money we've made, any projects that we're working on, and they complain about taxes, they complain about traffic, cars, talk about stuff like that. So they're talking, probably one of these things came up, and they're discussing a concept of wealth, and apparently that this hiwar came to a point where the guy who had a lot of wealth had the audacity to say something to his friend. I'm imagining, because you have to imagine what were they talking about in order for someone. Imagine I'm talking to Brother Adil over here, and Brother Adil at the end of the day, like in the middle of a conversation, he says, "You know what? Well, at the end of the day, I have more money than you and I have more kids than you." So you can only imagine. Okay, what led to this? How did this conversation? What was the conversation about? Right? I'm thinking, and I like to just imagine it for a moment. I'm thinking that they're probably talking about khair and what's actually doing good in life, and how do we know if you actually achieved, and what is success? What is success based on? How do we judge it? Does that make sense? When you talk about these things, there's different ways to look at it. We can say success is, the amount of khair that you do within your life, the amount of people that you help, the accomplishment that you leave that actually impact the lives of other individuals who live within your vicinity. Others will say, well, success is fame. If you do something that is so creative and so innovative that people take notice of and people recognize it for you. Others will say, well, success is working hard enough to make enough money to sustain yourself and your family. Different people have different definitions of success. Right? And then and they're discussing the issue. Maybe coming to the point where that guy who had a lot of wealth maybe didn't do much khair in his life to anyone, couldn't care about other people's problems, never was invested in the community that he lived in. His money was his, the thamar was kind of lahu thamar, it was all for him, he took it all for himself, it was all his family. And the other guy who maybe, insani yakhafullah, who had some taqwa, had some piety, that's not how he lived differently, he was a part of the jama'ah, he fed into it, he served it, he felt that was the meaning of his life. So he told them, well, dude, ana aktharu minka malan wa a'azzu nafara. At the end of the day, I have way more wealth than you. So how much do you, tell me, what do you own? Put all your property together and give me a number. I own 2 orchards that are, probably more than your whole family heritage ever owned in the history. Wa a'azzu nafara, I have more kids. Nafara are numbers, right? It's usually in Saudi it's used for ruz, but generally speaking, nafar is people, actual individuals. A'azzu nafara has 2 meanings. Has I have more people and they're higher status than yours. Even my kids have more money and are held in higher regards than yours. Your kids are faqr, they're a bit poor, so they don't have the same izzah, they don't have the same status amongst people. So I beat you in every way. I have more money than you. I raised kids to have more money than your kids, and I have more kids anyway. I have more people to surround me. So, doesn't that sum up success? Doesn't that sum up the whole point of having money? Isn't that why we have money? So that we could have money? Like, what purpose does money serve? It's important. This story is like extremely philosophical. Forgive me if I keep on rotating around a couple of ideas, but I need you to kind of think about it. What is the point of having money? Is it to have money? Like, is it to show, okay, this is my bank account, you see how many zeros are besides the number? See, that's how they have. Is that the point, or is there another point of having money? And what about having children and giving them a lot of money? Is that something that is also viewed as success or not? And to what extent is it viewed as success? Because it's important. These are important. Everyone here wants to have money, wants to have a lot of children, or a certain number of children. Put it on the ground and say, ضعوا فيها لله, أنفقوا لله, أنفقوا في سبيل الله, bring what you've got. And the Sahaba would go home and they would ask their wives, what do we have? Do you have any savings? And some of them didn't, some of them didn't. Some of them would come and they would bring a date in their hands and throw it in. It's all they owned. Like, and just the level of poverty, I have a date. That's what I have at home. Yeah, so this is the best I can offer. I really don't have anything else. I have 2 dates. One I feed my children, and this one I'm going to give to fi sabilillah. Other people will bring in Uthman bought Bi'r Roma. وَجَنَّةْ ثَلَاثَةَ آلَافٍ, and he gave, he prepared half of the army within a day. Different people have different amounts, but what does money serve, and how are we supposed to view it is the whole point of understanding this ayah. So anyways, they were discussing the topic, right? And it came to a point where he said, and he was being honest about it, this is what he felt, this is what he saw, how he saw things. The other, obviously his counterpart did not agree with this, he was telling something else, saying something else, but he told them, أَنَا أَكْثَرُ مِنْكَ مَالًا وَأَعَزُّ نَفَرًا, what are you talking about success? And I have more money than you, and I have more children and more social security than you. So what if you pray more and you're closer to Allah and you serve more? And you spend. So look at the end result. This is the end result. The result is I have more than you in every way, on both levels. It's not like I made a lot of money and people hate me. No, I made a lot of money and people like me. I have no azza. I have more. Azza could be more social support, not children. It could mean children as well. But it's an open, like the phrasing, the linguistics of it in the Quran is open. Just to understand that socially he was doing well as well. And that, too, he was doing socially well. And you think about that, and you understand that however you want. وَدَخَلَ جَنَّتَهُ. That ended the conversation. Pretty sure if Brother Adil told me that, I would say, okay, jazakallah khair, and walk out and think about that for a while, right? If that's how we're judging it, if that's how we're seeing it, maybe I need a moment to think. So they kind of, parted ways after their conversation. And this man who said those words walks. I want you to imagine him walking. He was sitting probably somewhere outside in front of a shop or talking somewhere. Now he's walking back to his 2 orchards where his house, his beautiful mansion exists and all his kids and everything. He's walking. وَدَخَلَ جَنَّتَهُ, entered his orchard. وَهُوَ ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ. And that's like between brackets, but it's like the most valuable between brackets 3 words that ever existed in the Quran, like that. You take that out, like you kind of destroy the whole built of the surah, the whole foundation of the surah, of the story. وَهُوَ ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ. He walked into that orchard of his as he had just oppressed himself. Dhulm al-nafs in the Quran is in many places, right? And talks about, it's referred to Bani Israel a number of times. وَمَا ظَلَمْنَاهُمْ, right? وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. We never oppressed them, but they oppressed themselves. So how do you oppress yourself?
Could that also mean immersed in dhalam, like immersed himself in dhalam, like so?
In darkness, you mean? Figuratively, that would work. Figuratively, that's a very interesting or nice way to look at it. But the concept of dhulm is what I want to think about for a second. Dhulm is to put something. هو وضع الشيء في غير محله. That's the definition. The definition of dhulm is putting something in its improper place. Right? So this. So dhulm is putting something in its improper place. So this phone is not mine. When I put it in my pocket, that is dhulm, because I put it in its improper place. I oppressed him by taking it. So the word oppression is a secondary meaning of dhulm. Dhulm is putting something in its improper place. That's why, from a philosophical point of view, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot oppress His servants, because you don't own anything anyway. So whatever He does, there's no improper place for you, because there's there's no rights as far as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is concerned, because He created you, everything about you is His, so He's incapable of dhulm anyway. But He subhanahu wa ta'ala, even with that concept being there, explains dhulm and says, I will not do dhulm, just so you feel good. But there is no dhulm. How can He do dhulm? What do you own? What is yours? What rights do you have? And where do you get those rights from? And who offered you those rights? There's nothing. Everything about you is owned by Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's nothing to dictate anything upon Him. Yet He chose to call it dhulm and to define it as well as so. In that sense, when He says, okay, there's no dhulm on me, I can't do dhulm, but I'm going to explain what dhulm is, and I will not do it, and you better not do it either. Now we have more reason not to do it, because it's actually not ours to touch. Things aren't ours. ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ. He oppresses himself by putting himself in the wrong place, by viewing himself as something that he was not, and as viewing money as something that it wasn't. So giving money weight that it's not is. That's not what it is. It's something totally different. What you have right now, and the weight that you assigned what you have right now, that's not what it is. You assigned it and gave it a title that doesn't deserve it. That's not what I want. And then He'll say 4 statements that will explain the 4 mistakes he has. Like he'll say 4 things that will explain to you, okay, this is why he said that, an original one, and أكثر من كمال, that's why he said it, and those are the 4 problems that he has in his mind, viewing money and dealing with it. So when he said وهو ظالم لنفسه, as he oppressed himself, it's not just an open statement. No, he oppressed himself by thinking the following 4 ideas, right? The 4 things that he said. So we'll start with them one by one. First, he said, ما أظن أن تبيد هذه أبدا. I do not think it's possible that all this wealth could be destroyed during my lifetime. Right? So ما أظن أن تبيد هذه أبدا, he means that during my life this is impossible. It's impossible. Abadan. It cannot happen that this is destroyed. Tabid is for it to perish or to vanish, right? That's what another way of understanding is that he is seeing the infinite giving earth and everything on it, an infinite nature. That's another way of looking at it. But for the sake of what he's thinking about, he's like, I don't believe that this could go away, right? Taking improper security from wealth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you, right? Taking the wrong impression of what you've got, trying to make money, and the point of making it is I want to feel secure. I want to feel like I will never be poor again. I want to say that to myself. You can never say that to yourself. You should never say that to yourself. You shouldn't want to say that to yourself. You should try and make sure you're not poor. Working for it and making the money is one thing, and wanting to say that is a whole different thing. Wanting to say, I will never be poor again. This money is the reason that I'll never be poor again. So right now my dependence on wealth is on this big wad of cash that exists in this place. Will never go away. So I'm good, right? Because some people have that insecurity. Some people do not have the tawakkul ala Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't have the belief and don't have the understanding of what rizq is, don't understand why rizq is given to you in the first place. Rizq is not given to you so that you can feel eternally secure financially. You're not given wealth so that in your 30s you can say, I have enough to live, to take care of myself and take care of all my children within my life, and then I can sleep well. That's not the point of you having money. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give you money for that purpose. He gave you money for a very different purpose. He gave you money so that you could do khair with it. This is the idea that the surah say. You're supposed to take that. If you have more than what you need, if you are given some level of financial security, then you need to take that and use that for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and serving and feeding back into the community that you live in. That's the point of it. You're not trying to say that I will never be poor again and then you hold on to that cash and slowly distribute it. No. First of all, that's not true. That's an illusion, because that's not how economies work. And if you understood how an economy works, you know that holding on to flowing cash is not going to make it any better. That is actually, eventually it's going to crash one day or another. And the other thing is that you shouldn't need to feel that. You shouldn't need to feel that I will never be. Ya Shaykh, work and put your effort in and accept whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends your way. Don't prepare yourself for failure. Don't prepare yourself for poverty. Don't accept not having anything. But don't do it for that reason. No. Your dependence on wealth and on survival is not on the money you have in your bank account. It's on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the constant fact that you will continue to serve Him subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout your life, and He will make sure that you're provided for. And even if you go through poverty and you're not provided for, you accept that and you're okay with it. You're okay with the fact that that's what He chose for you. But you're always working to make, but you understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has destiny and some of it may not work for you. Wanting to feel that illusion of security is not going to help it. This man, what he wanted, he was scared of losing money. He was scared of one day not having money. So when he looked at his Jannah, because when you say that, you feel iffish, right? When you say, I'm better than you, I have money, I'm more successful, and you walk it away, you feel like, subhanAllah, it's a natural predisposition within the human heart. Should I have said that? Right? You get scared. So he wants to fix it. So he said 4 stuff that explained all his issue, all the misconceptions that he had. Number 1, he worked and made money and had money, hoping it would offer him ultimate and absolute financial security. It never does, and that's not the point of it. Having money is not that you can be financially secure to the end of your life and children have to. No, that's not the purpose it serves, and that's not how it happens. And that part is what the story is going to unravel and taken away. That part, because that's the number 1 part. That part of the story, what he's saying that, is what the story is going to end up taking away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take that part. You think this can't go away? You think there's any amount of wealth or status, social status or financial status, any amount of it, that is immune, that could bring you that ultimate security? No. No matter what you have, it could be taken away. You could lose it easily. Wallahi, without and we've seen it. I mean, all you have to do is just read not even old history, just modern history. Exactly. See people how they fall. They go from those who are on Forbes, most rich 100 people on the planet, to someone who has nothing, who's left with nothing. There's no money isn't there for security, if that's what you're looking for. Make wealth. We need wealth. We can't build a community without wealth. You can't raise your children without wealth. You can't provide for them and clothe them and feed them. But it's not for that. It's not for that. It's not to say I will never be poor again. That's not the point. If you think like that, will any amount be enough? Well, any amount, it will never. It's like you're opening is this endless appetite that'll never end. There's nothing will suffice. Nothing will be enough. The Prophet ﷺ says, "Ya ibn Adam, la yushbi'uka illa turab." At the end of the human being, nothing fills he closes his appetite for all except dirt. Meaning when he dies, and he understands that none of that was worthy of any of the things I assigned. That's number one. Number two, وَمَا أَظُنُّ السَّاعَةَ قَائِمَةً. And I don't think there's going to be resurrection. To just be honest, I don't think that after I die, anything's going to happen. I know this is what you guys say here in the masajid and you tell on the minbar and everything, but I don't really think it's going to happen. I'm okay with it. Like I'm not going to fight you on it. I'm not going to spend too much time arguing. But you want my totally honest opinion? I don't think so. But I like the culture and I like all the practice and it's nice and it's all good. But I don't think. What are you talking about? What do you mean you like? What do you like? There's nothing to like here. Either this is something you have conviction of or you don't. Ask those who have nothing if they have doubts of that sort. Yes.
Is he still discussing with the other person?
No.
Is this thinking?
No, this is what he's saying. He walked it. See, imagine him. Yeah, imagine him walking into his orchard, right? As he just oppressed himself by saying those words to his friend. He didn't oppress his friend. When he said, "An aktharu min kamalan wa a'azzu nafara," he did not oppress his friend. He oppressed himself. The problem here, the friend knows, because the friend, he knows what money's for and what to use. He has no problems. He has no doubts at all. He's fine with it. He oppressed himself when he said that, by putting himself in a status that he doesn't deserve, by giving money status that it doesn't deserve. Then he starts to talk to himself. Well, number one, I don't think this offers me security. It shouldn't offer you security. That's not the point of it. You're not supposed to be completely secure about anything. Never be secure of anything. Never be secure of your sins. Never be fine. It's just how you're supposed to live. Always know things can change. Always prepare yourself. Things will change. The only constant is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only constant, the only thing that will never change is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tie yourself with service of Him, and everything else is going to change, whether you like it or not. One day not much, another day a lot, and then it goes back again. And one day you're happy, one day you're not. It's just how life works. The second thing he said. I don't think there will be a day of resurrection. I don't think it's going to happen. Sometimes money, gives you that small ego boost. Just that little ego boost that the person needed to finally say, I don't think it's going to go on. Why? Because it's hard to say it when you're on the other side of things. Right? When you're starting out life and you're hoping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses you with money, you're not going to say that. That's rude. You're scared, so you don't give. And when you have it, once you're sitting there on your throne, right, with your pipe and you're just talking philosophy, I don't think. Of course now you don't think. Of course now you don't think. Of course, look what you've got. You've got everything. He gave you subhanahu wa ta'ala everything. But how could you take everything from Him and that He gave you and then sit around and talk about you don't think it's going to happen? Why? The second one, not dealing with faith in an arrogant manner, looking down on the concept of resurrection, losing the connection between what you were given and the accountability that is connected to what you were given. How could you take all that money and not do anything khair with it? The only way you can justify that is if you don't believe there's accountability connected to it. You're saying the issue here, there's no accountability. I'm not going to be accountable. No one's going to ask me about this money, and that's how I justify. That's how I'm okay. I can live with myself not using it for khair because, there's no one to ask me about it because I don't think there's a resurrection. If you were 100% sure that every single dollar was going to be brought up, okay, you made it from here. Let's see. First of all, did you work hard enough to deserve it? Okay, you did. Okay, then what did you use it for? You think the CRA of Canada is hard, or IRS will go and try this Yawm al-Qiyamah when it's all going to, no, I need to know. I gave you this much, show me what was done with it. There's no way for you to be able to live with that concept, with that problem, unless you don't really believe there's maybe resurrection. But when you think about it, isn't that how most people function? Isn't that how, astaghfirullah subhanahu wa ta'ala, salam, ya Rabbi, yani yahdi qulubna wallahi, the Muslimin, and everyone else, wallahi. Do we, are we guilty of that? We're half invested, like not totally. We don't believe in the accountability altogether. That's number 2. Number 3, وَلَئِن رُدِدتُّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي, and if I return to my Lord. If. That ifish, I call this in Arabic hayat al-daman. I like the name for it, meaning what is it in English? Life of assurance or insurance. Okay, so that's where iman is, and this is where all the joys of this life is. So I'm going to put one foot there and one foot here. So if there's Jannah and Nar, I've prayed and I've fasted and everything. And if there isn't, I enjoyed my life. So I win either way. وَلَئِن رُدِدتُّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي, and in case I ever end up returned to my Lord, right? This is the third problem. That if I don't know if I'll ever return to Him or not. So I'll just kind of keep it half and half, right? Number 1, he used money for ultimate security. Not for the purpose it was created for, but rather to secure himself, which is not the point of it. Number 2, he didn't believe in accountability, meaning he felt that was his, so he wasn't going to be accountable. Number 3, he lived an ifish life of faith anyway, meaning he wasn't really sure he was returning. So it was kind of half and half. Let's say that I go back. Let's say that I go back. All right, I've done enough. I've prayed. I've done. I'm good. This is way worse than me, right? That argument is way worse. Really? Well, how does that even? Subhanallah. The fourth thing, I don't want to finish before the fourth one. لَأَجِدَنَّ خَيْرًا مِنْهَا مُنْقَلَبًا. Then I will find, if I ever return to my Lord, then I will find better than what I have upon my return. مُنْقَلَبًا, upon my return. Then I will find better than what I have right now upon my return. Number 4, entitlement.
Why you said that? What's your relying on?
Entitlement. Entitlement, one of the biggest human sins ever. You hate it from your kid, your dad hated it from you, and your grandfather hated it from your father. And every single parent hates it from their kids. Entitlement. Yeah, many of the fathers here worked really hard to make sure their kids have what they have in their houses. Now, if you were to compare what you have, what your kids have right now, and what you had when they were their age, your stories would never end. You'd be a broken record to say the same. I was your age. I walked uphill to school barefoot both ways. I had to carry my mother on my back, and I had one leg. I didn't have feet when I was your age. Just total agony and sorrow. Because your point clearly is that you're not entitled to anything. You're lucky. You're blessed that you have it. I need you. You want your kid to feel that. You want them to have good things, but you want them to feel blessed by it, not entitled. If you give them good things and they're entitled, khalas, you've ruined them. The same thing. The same. Yes.
Would you just call that pride?
Maybe. I think the word entitlement is a bit more descriptive of the concept.
That comes with living in luxury for a long time. Yes. Or growing in luxury.
Yeah. Or
grow up in luxury.
Or anything taken for granted. Sometimes it's not even luxury. Anything taken for granted that I deserve this. I deserve it. I'm a good person. Playing Allah's role. Telling Him who's good and who's not good. Telling Him what you deserve and what you don't deserve. Based on what? Nothing. Well, God is not going to waste His time punishing people. What are you His representative? Are you speaking in His name? Did He tell you? What are you doing? You have no knowledge of this whatsoever. You're not entitled to anything. 4 problems. He took money as ultimate security, financial and social. He didn't believe in accountability. He was iffish in his faith, and he felt entitled. 4 problems that money can cause. If you can take money and not have those 4 problems, then you will be able to use it for the purpose that it existed in the first place, and you'll actually be able to build with it. And that's the first part of Surat the story of Ashab al-Jannatayn. We'll continue inshallah next week after Surat al-Maghrib. Jazakum Allah khair. Subhanakallah bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta.